I felt trapped. I wanted to be a better version of myself. I wanted to escape that lifestyle and that horror, but I didn't know how. I had tried many, many times on my own strength to give it up. Paired with my family's support, they offered me help in that, but I guess I just wasn't ready. I didn't have the inner strength. I haven't surrendered to God. At least half of that decade on the drugs, I didn't want to be there. I just didn't know how to get out.
Welcome, everyone, to Voices of Restoration at the table. Today we have Anthony Mullinax, who is a JUMPSTART alumni and also a fellow staff member that I get to work with every day. Some of you may know Anthony's story and have heard it if you're connected to JUMPSTART in any way. But Anthony, why don't you tell the listeners a little bit about yourself and let them get to know you a little bit better.
Yeah. First, I'd like to say thank you for the opportunity. It's my pleasure to be here. It's a blessing. Just jumping right in. So I grew up in a good family, nice family. They supported me well. They led me well. I grew up in a nice home. But through my wandering mind and wanting to have fun, I began down a dark road on my own. Began drugging and drinking at an early age, which spiraled into a colossal mess. And I lived in that mess for about 10 years until the Lord sat me down in the South Carolina Department of Corrections, where I could first and foremost find myself and find Him. And once I surrendered my life to Christ, His blessings just began to pour out in my life. Through JUMPSTART, I was able to mend the relationships of my family in my own personal life, but also make relationships and friendships that will last a lifetime. People that I've come to meet and love in this new life that's helped propel me forward, encourage me, admonish me, lift me up. And ultimately, I've now began to work for JUMPSTART, like you said. It's been a great blessing to me to be able to walk alongside the men and women of JUMPSTART who have similar stories with me, to where I can just admonish them and lift them up and encourage them, knowing that if the Lord can bring me out of my despair, He can do the same for them. God's blessed me with this role and also a home of my own that I share with my beautiful wife, my daughter Willow, that is 6 months old. The Lord's just blessed us, and I'm just grateful to be able to share that.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Wow. Anthony, when you think about your life now, you mentioned a lot, but when you think about your life now, what feels most different to you?
Everything. Honestly, everything is different from the life I once lived for that decade of terror, more or less, self-brought terror. But I think what stands out the most is the peace and clarity God has provided me in my own life and heart, to where I can make just decisions and live honestly. But the relationships are probably the greatest thing of my new life, just having friends that care, family back in my life, a wife and a child. The relationships are the greatest blessing.
Wow.
Yeah.
So when you were, before JUMPSTART, before prison, when you were in this dark place that you mentioned, what was going through your mind? Where were you at through your days, and how did that kind of shape your darkness?
Right. Like I said, I grew up in church, but I didn't get the picture. I just was ignorant to it as a child of what my role was as a believer. I thought that it was all on Jesus, which it is to an extent, but I just hadn't surrendered some things in my life.
Do you ever look back and just say, that was a completely different version of yourself, that version that you were living in? What did that feel like to you then?
Yeah. So really, I was just so inwardly focused. I didn't have an outward focus. It was all about me. And that selfishness paired with drug addiction and drug abuse just turned me into a monster, to where, the drugs was fueling something in me that I couldn't control personally. And just being selfish in that just made me a monster in that lifestyle.
And did you feel like that was normal? Like during that time, did you feel like I'm just living life and going through the motions?
Well, actually, I felt trapped. I wanted to be a better version of myself. I wanted to escape that lifestyle and that horror, but I didn't know how. I had tried many, many times on my own strength to give it up, paired with my family's support. They offered me help in that, but I guess I just wasn't ready. I didn't have the inner strength. I haven't surrendered to God, and so I would say for at least half of that decade of on the drugs, didn't want to be there. I just didn't know how to get out.
Yeah. So for those people who don't know, what was the catalyst that brought you to where you are now? What was that changing moment?
I would say being arrested. So my mother, through her great love, she had to make a sacrifice, and she called the surrounding county and let them know what I was driving, where I was headed, and what I had in my pocket. And they met me where I was at to find those things on me and find me breaking the law and arrested. And I like to say that I wasn't arrested on that day, I was rescued. My mother sent out a rescue mission for those police officers, and I thank them for their commitment they ultimately saved my life. That day there was the changing point for my new journey.
Wow. So you say that was your rescue moment, but in that moment, did you feel that way? Like, did you have that overwhelming sense that like, hey, I've been rescued?
I did.
Yeah.
I did. I remember sitting in the back of that patrol car with not a worry in the world. I knew that it was my mom. I knew my mom had done that. The officers had hinted towards that while searching my car, but I felt at peace. I felt the pressure was gone, that I would be able to get clean.
And so that was your first time, not your first time being arrested, right?
Yeah.
But that was your first time that you were actually going to face prison time and go to prison potentially.
So I've been arrested along the lines of 10 or 15 times, just going to county jail. But I also served a YOA sentence, a Youthful Offender Act, for the South Carolina Department of Corrections. I done about 2 years in that sentence, but nothing good came of it because of the solitary of that nature of that program that they have. I wasn't able to get into a program like JUMPSTART or go to church or any of those things. I had no encouragement or no one to admonish me and hold me accountable. So I got out with the same mindset. Nothing changed. So it was approximately a year later that I was arrested for the second time and sentenced to prison.
Wow. And so how old were you at that time?
I was 23 when I went for my first prison sentence, and I was about to be 25 when I went for my second.
Wow. So you're 25, you're going to prison, and you're in prison.
Yeah.
What does that look like for you daily? Like you said you've been rescued, and where did that change for you when you were behind the prison walls?
I felt at peace. I knew that finally I had some time to focus on myself. So for the first couple of weeks, I was just trying to get off of the substances. My body was ridding of the substances, so it was terrible. But once I regained mental clarity and focus, I was able to focus on myself, my health. I began working out and getting into good programs, good places to grow both physically and mentally. And over time, it just compiled onto one another and began to progress.
And you had some good guys in there who were surrounding you and, encouraging you, like some older men that you had mentioned. Can you tell me maybe just like one story about one of the guys in there that really encouraged you the most and really poured into you while you were there?
Yeah, so I'd say my sanctification process was starting off slow after I received Christ into my life. And I was still trying to pick apart the sin in my life and turn from them one at a time. And one of the sins I was struggling with was smoking tobacco while incarcerated. And there's a fellow named John and Cliff. They were sort of my my spiritual brothers or fathers. They were really following the Lord, and they cared about me. So as I would be on what they called the dirt road inside the dorm, it was just the smoking section pretty much. When John would walk by, he would just stop and look at me in my eyes, and tell me to get off the dirt road. And just over time, that helped the conviction to grow to where I built enough strength to turn from that while incarcerated.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so John and Cliff, they encouraged you to go to church, right? And then you ended up at JUMPSTART somehow. Can you tell me a little bit more about that?
Yeah, so I would say my process in JUMPSTART almost feels accidental to me. I'm not even really sure how I got into JUMPSTART other than those guys. In the institution I was at, I was able to go to church 6 or 7 days a week. So we would go there as a hangout to listen to music, to sing, praise, worship, have Bible studies, typically led by John. And while going to church, the flyers for JUMPSTART were posted all around the dorm and all in the church. And it was just an opportunity for me to get into something, honestly, to get out of the dorm another hour of the week. Right. So I believe I started out in it that way, and then come to realize soon that there would be an opportunity for me after incarceration to be a part of JUMPSTART and to not be a burden on my family once released. My family wanted me to come home to them, but I knew it would be a struggle with them to help me to get a job and to get me to and from the job, and it would just be a lot on their life. But I knew JUMPSTART was set up for it. So somewhere along the line, I made that commitment and that decision to really pour into the classwork and apply for the housing, which I was accepted.
So with the classwork, what's like 40 weeks is the program. Could have been longer, just depending on circumstances. But what was like one thing that you could say that you took away specifically from that class, from the coursework, from your accountability partner and the people that were pouring into you, the volunteers? Is there like one story that you could maybe share?
So I'd say the accountability piece was the greatest thing. During that class is when I began to shift and actually take advice. Through my childhood and early teen and early adulthood, I didn't listen to people that were wise and gave me advice, offering advice to me. If someone told me to do something or suggested I do something, I typically done the polar opposite. And I lived like that for a while, but I remember while incarcerated in JUMPSTART, that's when it began to shift. I began to actually listen to those that were encouraging me or admonishing me, giving me advice. Justin Durrell, he's a part of JUMPSTART today, but he goes inside of Livesey Prison each Wednesday. So I met him while I was incarcerated, and Justin would just come in each week and check on me, not on a friendly level, but like on a brotherly heart level, like, where's my heart at? Yeah. What decisions am I making in my life to honor God? So I think that really played a huge role for me to set me up and prepare me for my transition out. I was thinking about my heart rather than just going off of my emotions or my mind.
Yeah. So is that when the shift where you kind of saw yourself differently? Like how did that play into being in prison, being in JUMPSTART, knowing that you were changing yourself for the better? Like how did that shape how you saw yourself?
So I would say it created a momentum. It encouraged me to know that I could turn from some of the things I'd struggled with for my whole life. Some of the sin tendencies I had while incarcerated, I began to turn from those, and each and every time it created momentum. Each time I was able to not answer to the flesh, but answer to what God wanted me to do. It continued to create momentum. And when I saw myself hitting milestones, like when I got out, I'd secured a job early on with Justin in the landscape company. It's just created milestones. Was saving money for the first time in my life. I remember when I had $5,000 in my savings, I was like, wow, this is something I thought wasn't possible for me. So little things like that just created momentum and encouraged me to set more goals, and that's when I knew I could.
So you mentioned getting out. So what did life look like for you, getting out, going to a program, going somewhere you never been before? What did that look like for you?
Just being honest, I was a little fearful, like, of the unknown. I didn't sleep the last couple of nights while in there, just wondering, like, what's it going to be like? And there was thoughts in my mind of, well, I'm comfortable at my parents' house or at my aunt's house. Like, I was playing and toying with the thought of maybe going to where I knew was comfortable, but ultimately I knew that wasn't the best choice. It might not be a bad decision, but it's not the best decision. So transitioning out, I was fearful, but when I got to what they call the big house, I was just met with love and grace from friends that I didn't expect. And that love is what, helped me to solidify, like, knowing, hey, this is the place for me. I fit right in. I was able to meet the guys. They had a gym downstairs. They had good food every evening. I was like, yeah, this will work. I can make this work.
Food in the gym. That's all you need.
That's all I needed at that point.
So you're at the big house. You mentioned getting a job with Justin with the landscaping team, which is a social enterprise through JUMPSTART. Can you just talk a little bit more about your time with the landscaping team and what that looked like and how different it was compared to just being at a job on your own? And
So this was the first job that I actually really put in commitment for myself and for the company. All the other jobs I'd ever had in my past was more of I was inward focused. I was just there to gain employment. I just needed some money so that I could go blow it the next weekend. So after getting out, I was focused in a new direction, of course, wanting to save money, but also the friendships that I'd already built with Justin propelled me to, I just wanted to do good for him. I wanted to be there for him like he had been there for me. So it gave me a drive to initially work really hard and get, build a foundation there where I was able to continue to grow with the company and move on up into more of a supervisor role where I got to train and lead other men when they got out of prison. So that gave me like a dual purpose. Yes, I was working to gain employment and to have financial increase, but gave me a purpose from the Lord. I knew I was there meeting those guys getting out of incarceration where they were at. When we hired them onto the landscaping team, I was able to lift them up and encourage them and help them with their next steps too.
Mm-hmm. And so the outside program with JUMPSTART is a 2-year program, and you did the full 2 years, right?
21 months.
21 months. And then at that 21 months, I think you were going to be transitioning out of JUMPSTART, going into a job somewhere else. I think it was out of state. And you mentioned, can you just tell me a little bit more about how you ended up at JUMPSTART?
Yeah. So through my pride and ignorance, I had just an idea that I'm going to go do what I want to do, right? I had it set in my mind that I was going to go work for a grading company in North Carolina, just over the state line, live out that way with family. And they'd promised me a big role with a lot of responsibility, but also a lot of income. And I'd made my decision. I'm going to go do that. I'd told Justin I'm going to put in a notice and I'm going to work with you all for another week. And I'm going to North Carolina to pretty much help run this grading company. And me and Justin met, and through some good conversation, he let me know that he didn't think it was the best decision, right? He supported me, but he didn't think it was the best decision. And then I remember while doing that 1 week of notice, I was out cutting grass at a church, and I received a call from Kerry Sanders. And he was like, hey, man, I want you to know that I'm proud of you. I support you. I heard from Justin that you planned on transitioning and you're going out to North Carolina to be around family. And I want you to know I'm here for you. I'm willing to help in any way. Just let me know if I can help out with anything. He said, but also I want to offer you a job. I want to offer you a position with JUMPSTART. He said, I don't necessarily have a role for you to fill right now, but I'm going to find one. I want you to come work for us. And in that call, I ended it pretty quickly, but right after hanging it up, putting the phone in my pocket, I just looked up to the Lord and I'm like, what are you doing, Lord? Like, I had it all planned out. Anthony had it figured out. I thought I had my way planned out. And then here comes this interjection of what felt like just a road bump. I'm like, what do I do here? What do I do? You know, so I began praying. And like Kerry instructed, he said for me to let him know in 3 days. So I started praying that evening, really that moment on the job site. And as I continued to pray, I was weighing it out in my mind. Which one is leading me towards Christ? Is it the money and the grading, or is it a chance to be a part of something greater? Is it a chance to be a part of JUMPSTART and admonishing guys, walking alongside of guys that share a similar testimony with me? So I continued praying, and it took about another probably 6 or 8 hours, and I was calling Kerry. I was like, hey, man, I don't need 3 days. I'd like to take a position on your team and come alongside you guys and work. He's like, okay, well, I'll prepare the offer letter and email it to you later. And that's how that began.
And what month was that? Because I'm thinking about our timing, because for our listeners, you started on Monday, September 9th, and I started on Wednesday, September 11th of the same week. And then I think we had our first day together. So
so it was the week before. Okay. That was the week before I began working on JUMPSTART's staff. Wow. The same week as you. Yeah.
That was quick.
Yeah.
That was a quick turnaround.
Yeah.
Wow. So in that moment, you were just so dependent on the Lord and, you know, praying like, hey, is this what I need to be doing? You didn't say like, no, Anthony has it figured out. You were obedient to the Lord and have joined the team, and since then have been able to pour into the people that you once were. Can you tell me a little bit about what you did when you first started and what that looked like for you? Yeah.
So when I first began, like God said, Kerry said, it didn't really have a role initially, but someone ended up stepping away from the team that was over the foundation stage. The foundation stage of JUMPSTART is the initial stabilization period for our new arrivals. Their first 30 days while with JUMPSTART, they aren't able to obtain a job yet, and they aren't able to go out freely yet to any degree, because we just want them to be stabilized, want them to reintegrate into society at a comfortable rate where they can not feel as much pressure. They can be welcomed in, fed well, loved well, and feel at home before we send them out into the world to work and things like that.
Right.
So I had the opportunity for about 8 months to lead that foundation stage. I got to, from day 1 to about day 30, day 45 range, I was with each and every man every day, just walking alongside of them, helping them secure birth certificates, driver's license, all of those credentials and things that they need to begin employment. I got to lead some work opportunities to sort of get them used to working. A lot of the guys, when they come out of incarceration, are used to laying down, essentially, because in institutions you don't always have something to do. Sometimes you're behind a door or behind in a cell a lot of times throughout the day. So just got the opportunity to work alongside of them and slowly help them reintegrate into a working type mindset. Yeah.
So you're with the guys in the first 30 days. So the day they get out on release day, which is typically the first of every month, how was that meeting them where they were, where you once were? Like, can you give me like a story of a time when someone came home and they were feeling anxious and just overwhelmed, but you were able to meet them exactly where they were because you were once there?
Yeah. So I'd say still to this day, release day is my favorite day of the month. Even though I'm not leading the foundation stage anymore, I'm still a big part of it because I love it. I love to see the excitement on each and every man's face when they get out. There's hundreds of stories, honestly, but I really enjoy the ones where guys get out and they don't necessarily have family to pick them up. Maybe they're older and have been incarcerated for a while, so they're really fearful and they don't know what to expect. So I just really, really enjoy getting to show them the love of Christ when they get out, getting to tour them around the facility, to meet all the other staff members, but also it's my pleasure and blessing to be able to welcome them into essentially a brand new home that they get to begin living in, and show them where the refrigerator is and where the freezer, all the things that are newly released inmates curious about. I get to walk them alongside of that and show them all the blessings that's provided for them, and just seeing the joy on their face, that's what pours into me. That's what fills me up and recharges me for the next month or the next, session.
Wow.
Yeah.
So as you have evolved into a different role, you're now the transitional program director, which means that you kind of don't work with them as closely in the first 30 days, but you still are coming alongside them maybe when a participant is going through struggle, or there's something going on that they might be facing, and it probably something similar to what you may have faced or struggled with when you were in the program or before the program. And I'm just curious, like, from your lens, like, how does that feel to be able to pour into them, knowing that I was exactly where they were?
Yeah. So what I find honestly relieving in my role is, say, when someone does mess up and maybe they deserve a corrective action, the level of love I'm able to have in my heart, not anger. I never find myself getting angry with participants, because I know life is hard and life hits you from all angles and temptation is real. And I struggled with some of those same temptations and struggles when I got out, and I had men meet me and love me well through it and encourage me. So when someone does stumble or trip up, I don't come to them in an accusatory way. Come to them inquisitively, want to know, the root cause, maybe what caused them to do that, but humbly love them in that situation and let them know that, hey, I'm here for you to walk alongside of you. I'm not here to punish you. We're going to do this together. This is a time for growth. This is an opportunity that we are blessed by. Yeah. This is going to make us a better us in the future. So let's do this together.
Yeah. I always hear you say, like, we're just chasing rebels down, and, day by day we work with participants and in different ways. But what's been the most meaningful for you? Like, what story kind of resonates with you the most that you could maybe share with an audience of just one specific story?
Yeah, so I'm not going to share any name, but there was a gentleman in JUMPSTART that struggled. He, when we get out, we have freedom that we're not used to. He had served a good deal of time, and the freedom just sort of got a hold of him, and he stepped off into something that he shouldn't have, and it was a removable offense. But through the corrective action and a restoration meeting that we had with him, I saw his heart. He was able to humbly share his heart with me, and I just felt the Lord telling me, give him a shot, right? So I was able to have a couple of meetings with him that week, but later on, weekly meetings to walk alongside of him. And he completely repented. The first time, really, that I saw someone just truly repent from what they had done and move forward in a graceful and successful way. And that there is one of the things that pours into me. It gives me hope. When someone does mess up, let's not turn away from them. Let's turn towards them. They've been turned away from their whole life. People have rejected them their whole life when they messed up, or they've thrown them away into a cell when they mess up. So for the first time, they're able to be met with love when they struggle. And I think it just sparks something. I know it did in my mind, but it sparks something in our guys' mind when we meet them with love when they feel the world's going to turn from them. And that's one of my greatest blessings of being here.
Absolutely. Well, when you look at your life today, I'm going to shift back to just Anthony, and you mentioned that you're a husband now, a homeowner, a father, an expecting father. Mm-hmm. What does that feel like to you, to know where you were and to know that you went through this program, you were relying on the Lord to help you change your life, and then you have made it on the other side and you've bought your first home. Mm-hmm. You married your beautiful wife, Allison, and you have Willow and a new baby boy or girl. Like, how does that feel?
Unreal. It feels unreal. I sit back and observe my life quite often, and I'm blown away. I really, I know the Lord says different, but I say really I don't feel like I deserve it because of the life I live. But by His grace, I have been saved. And when I chose to live in that identity of a child of God, that I am saved, I have been restored, I have been redeemed, I am forgiven. Living in that lifestyle has just, man, because of what He done for me, I'm a new creation in Christ, and I'm a polar opposite of what I used to be. That moment of receiving Christ that really started the new transition, and I'm no longer who I used to be at all. I do none of the same things, none of the same hobbies. I don't have the same thought patterns and tendencies. I'm actually able to be a functioning citizen with a family that loves me, that I'm able to love.
And I know that you're an inspiration to all the guys and ladies coming out and into the program to see you and to know your story and to see where you are today and to see Christ working through you every day. It's just amazing to know that there are people like you, people like Caitlin, and many others who inspire the participants to just keep that daily surrender to Christ so that they can be where you are now. I just wanted to ask one thing. If someone is feeling stuck right now, what would be your encouragement to them to not feel stuck anymore and to see past where they are?
Yeah, I would say don't overthink on it. Simplify it. For me in my life, obedience to the King, to Jesus, was the changing point. And when I chose to turn from what I wanted, from my flesh, and started to live for what He wanted for me, that's when my life shifted. So it doesn't have to be overcomplicated. It aligns with obedience. If we are obedient to what Christ has asked of us, we have nothing to worry about. Our life it has no other opportunity but to change for the good if we're just obedient to the King.
Anthony, working at JUMPSTART, do you like what you do or do you love what you do?
I absolutely love what I do. Not only am I able to support my family through my occupation, but I'm able to honor God in the way I work. I'm literally making a financial gain while serving the Lord. I'm able to get up every day, and I feel in my heart that I'm doing what God has called me to do.
That's amazing.
What would you say about it, Abby? If I return the question to you, do you like what you do or do you love what you do?
I love it. I love what I do. I didn't think I'd ever be working at JUMPSTART. I went through the program on the inside, but I didn't think I'd ever have a job at JUMPSTART. But every day that I go in, it's a new day to be hopeful to someone who needs hope, to be able to meet them right where they are, where I once was, to spread joy where they may not have it or where they may need it. I think that's something that I think I was telling you, it's a blessing to be a blessing. And to me, being able to do that and be working is something that a lot of people don't get to say when they go to work, that they get to be a blessing to others, and that's a blessing to them. So,
Amen.